and he blows his whistle and goes straight back to Alex Lacey, who promptly gives the ball away, although as I say that, Rooney nearly returns the favour and gives it back to him once more. Rawlinson tries to clear it away. You might just about be able to make out the sarcastic cheers away to, well, outside of this conservatory box that we're sat in at the back of the stand, and that's because Rawlinson's got his clearance all wrong, and it's not exactly the start that you're looking for from Neil Ardley and Notts County's perspective, as they've immediately given away a corner kick to the home side, who themselves don't take any invitation really, as they don't struggle to score goals in this league. There's a cluster of players on the penalty spot, about 5 or 6 of them. The referee stopped it already for a little bit of pushing and shoving and some jostling as well. And Rooney will take the corner from the far touchline. We've got about a minute played here, and you're listening to Matchday on BBC Radio Nottingham. Here comes the in-swinging corner, not a bad ball that. Richard Brindley though will head it away. Hardcastle tries to get on the end of it, but Brindley will complete the job and fire the clearance up towards the halfway line, and it's then shifted back over in this direction where Joel Bagan can come across and stick it out for a throw-in away to our right-hand side. Lee Curtis already Barrow on the front foot.
Exactly what you don't need at this stage of the game. I mean, it was a simple clearance for Connell, but just managed to get his foot the wrong side of it. It was a corner, but Barrow lined up in the love train, and they're really putting the pressure on at the moment.
The love train, I like that. They've got a second corner already as well. Scott Quigley with 20 goals to his name so far this season. He's got another corner kick, and across will come John Rooney, who I mentioned is Wayne Rooney's younger brother. He scored 19 goals so far this season. Used to play for the likes of Wrexham, Chester, New York Red Bull for a time as well. Here comes that ball into the area. Keeper came for it, called for it, and as a result, Michael Doyle said, "I'll leave it," and the keeper in the meantime also left it, and Notts County right there, locked there, but they do manage to scramble the ball clear, get it up towards the halfway line, and where it will be a Barrow throw-in. But Joe McDonald has received a little bit of criticism since he joined on loan. Excuse me, not even on loan, since he joined until the end of the season. He'd been released by AFC Wimbledon, and moments like that where he comes for the ball and clearly had called for it will not help him out, as Rooney shoots from around 35 yards out. He's angry with himself. That one was always going to fly up over the top of McDonald's goal, and he kind of waved it past up over the top of his crossbar.
It's going to be an interesting one, this, Charlie, because obviously we know from Barrow's performance at Notts County, they press very high. As we see now, the 3 centre halves are coming out. They've had to get further up the field now. So, and this is where I think the tactics are going to be so important, because Joe McDonald's going to have to hit this kick long. Notts are going to have to try and get hold of that ball and try and get themselves into the game. And
now McDonald's scuffed his goal kick from the edge of his 6-yard box, so hardly covering himself in glory in the early stages of this game is the Notts goalkeeper. 3 minutes on the clock here, couple of mistakes and errors already. O'Brien and Doyle looking to shift it down the left-hand side to Wes Thomas and Scott Wilson up there. Plenty of mobility, plenty of pace in those two, but I've seen a couple of Notts fans on Twitter already wondering whether or not they're just a little bit too similar, the pair. It's now with Tom White, the central midfield. They'll play it out onto the left-hand side. Jones stabs it forwards, and that goes beyond the Barrow strikers, beyond the Notts County defenders, and through towards McDonald, who this time looks to bowl it out to the left-hand side. Damien McCrory will take over. The Irishman approaching the halfway line. His left-footed ball tries to find the onward run of Wes Thomas, just a little bit too long for him, and now Michael Doyle will head the ball out. How good is it to see the likes of McCrory and Lacey back in there, Lee?
Huge. I mean, they've been 2 big players for Notts this season. I mean, Alex Lacey, I mean, what a signing he's been. I mean, he came in November, worked to get his fitness back, and he and Rawlinson have been absolutely superb in the heart of the defence. So yeah, really good to see him back. I like Damien McCrory. I actually think Damien McCrory is probably a better centre half than he is a left back, in my opinion, but that's one for debate.
The voice of the Nottingham Post's Lee Curtis there, as he's filling in for Mark Stallard today. Stall's a little bit... No, doing very well. Doing very, very well indeed. Yeah, stepping into the breach, doing us a real favour there, so I very much appreciate that. Rooney, meanwhile, looks to ping a 50-60 yard diag from the right-hand side of the centre circle out onto the left wing, and he probably got it a yard wrong or so, but he's really well liked, very highly rated, and with a season under his belt like this, where he scored so many goals from midfield, and with a surname like that, you wouldn't be too surprised to see a League One, maybe a upper-end League Two club take a punt on him in the summer, no matter whether or not Barrow win this division or not, because As I say, 19 goals from the centre of midfield is no bad effort. As Crawford flicks the ball to Wilson, who juggles it and then hooks it over his left shoulder with his right foot, but the ball is coming straight back downhill. It feels like Barrow playing downhill in this first half. I'm sure that's not the case, as White has nearly been knocked out by Jones, teammates knocking each other out there. Looked to fizz the ball forward, and from about 6 yards away from it, smacked Tom White in the head, and down he goes, and the referee's going to have to stop the game whilst the physio comes on and checks on Tom White. A little bit of talk on the strikers' league today. Wes Thomas and Scott Wilson starting up front. As I mentioned a few moments ago, a couple of fans pointing at that and going, they're a bit similar. I wonder how that's going to work out. I've seen a couple of other fans think that that's a clear indication that Notts are going to look to hit Barrow on the counter-attack today.
I think they're probably right. I mean, you look at the pace of those two, I think that's probably the most pleasing aspect, is Notts have got speed up there, but it's how you get them into the game. At the moment, Barrow have been on the front foot, been very aggressive, as we expected them to be. I think it's just vital that if Notts can get the ball down, just have a spell in possession, because, you know, in these opening 5 minutes, you just haven't touched it at the moment.
Well, the game restarts as Jones looks to play it from left to right, but Bagan's stepped across and read that, cleared it forwards, but the ball is coming straight back towards them. Again, I must admit, when I was out there before, it wasn't all that windy, but it looks as though it might just be a touch breezy, and that is playing a little bit of havoc in the middle of the park at times. A couple of players misjudging bounces, the flight of the ball. Here's Kay down the right-hand side, tries to get beyond Jim O'Brien. O'Brien steps across him, and Kay goes for a ride on his back. We're about an hour and a half up the road from Blackpool, but that was a bit of a donkey ride there, and the referee has given Barrow a free kick. What did you make of the award of that, Lee?
I couldn't see what Jim O'Brien did wrong there. He got his body in the way, and as you say, he was almost carrying somebody on a piggyback, so I thought that was a wrong decision, but to be fair, nothing surprises me in the National League these days.
Yeah, big fan of the officiating in this league. Here's Sam Hurd on the right-hand side. The number 6 will dink the ball into the Notts penalty area, but Brindley's there again, and the old Rolls Royce Richard Brindley manages to clear it away. Another ball straight back towards the edge of that Notts penalty area yet again, and as Lee Curtis was saying just a moment ago, they really do need to just get their foot on the ball, try and string a few passes together, as they're not managing to do so at the moment. Bagan plays it in behind, or he attempts to play it in behind the Barrow defence. A poor clearance there, and now Wes Thomas will try to get onto it, but it's an even poorer touch from the Notts striker, who's got 10 goals to his name this season, and that'll go out for a throw-in away to our left-hand side. We played 8 minutes here at Holker Street. It remains Barrow 0, Notts County 0. We'll try and keep you across the scores as they go in around the different leagues, divisions today. The lunchtime kick-off in the Premier League saw Liverpool beat Bournemouth by 2-1. Notts are going to get a free kick level with the halfway line as Quigley just muscled into Bagan. Again, not a huge amount in it, but free kick awarded nonetheless. In the Championship at lunchtime, it finished Bristol City 1, Fulham 1. That one ultimately not a bad result for Nottingham Forest after a bad result for the Reds last night. Connell Rawlinson flies into a challenge down the right-hand side. The ball shoots off down that right touch line and into the penalty area in the end, where Joel Dixon, a man with 16 clean sheets to his name this season, will easily retrieve. He's wearing this bright orange luminous goalkeeping kit this afternoon. I swear to you, when they design goalkeeping kits, it's like they don't want to sell any of them.
Well, he's like a fluorescent pen, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah, like a marker pen.
Couldn't see yourself wearing that tonight, I think.
Unless it was a dare or a stag do. It's unlikely, isn't it? Going the full kit. Kay takes the throw-in into Rooney, the skipper for Barrow. It's now flicked on by White out into the far side. Will that be a free kick for Notts? No, Richard Brindley thought it should be one. Neil Ardley likewise. I thought it would be a free kick as well, as Brindley looked like he'd got there in front of Brough on the far side. But by the by, Barrow have it, and Rooney tries to slide it through the middle to Dior Angus, but again, it's just getting away from them. A few times we've seen the ball shoot through the Notts defence and run away for a goal kick or a corner. As I say, it almost feels like Barrow are kicking downhill in this first half.
I mean, it's one of those grounds, isn't it, where it's completely open to the elements. I mean, as we look to our right, there's an open-ended terrace, and then to the left, there's a /stroke porter cabin terrace.
Something like that, as Joe McDonald takes a couple of chances. First of all, fizzing a 30-yard pass out to his left-hand side to Damien McCrory, who was in the left full-back position, and then getting the ball back and taking a touch past Dior Angus, who was hot on his heels and straight on top of him. And while Neil hardly applauds it, I'm not sure it's the most confidence-inspiring display there at the back at the moment. Kay tries to find Quigley. Such a big target is Scott Quigley. He stands at about 6'3", solid. He is the sort of prototype of a lower Football League, National League striker. He's just going to be a handful all afternoon as O'Brien turns it round the corner. It is, and he finds Wes Thomas, who's got just the one man to beat in front of him inside the penalty area. Does beat him, tries to get the ball across. It'll break to Bagan, and that's an excellent last-ditch bit of defending in the end. I think from Dan Jones, who'd come across from left to right. He had to make the tackle. He did make the tackle because Bagan was about to fire at goal from around 8 yards out.
Fantastic move there. I mean, we saw why Jim O'Brien is, is very important to this team, particularly in the heart of midfield. I think a lot of the fans' complaints is that Doyle and Rose haven't really got that killer pass in them, but that was brilliant by O'Brien on the edge of the box. Lovely little feint, sets Thomas away. Just unfortunately it didn't break kindly to Bacon, but it was a good opening, and hopefully that'll give Notts some confidence.
Just having a look at the formation for Notts as well. We saw it flagged early on as Kay's down and in a bit of pain after feeling the effects of a tackle a few moments ago, and there's loads of Barrow fans in this stand in front of us. It's all terraced. It's really old school, the view that we've got at the moment, albeit we have a window and some glass in between. If we didn't have that, you'd really hear them. We have got an effects mic as well, but that's kind of tucked out the way up to our right hand side. As mentioned, we've not started 3-4-1-2. I don't think they're in that anymore. It looks like they've switched to a flat back four, and then there's a kind of bank of three, and occasionally Wilson will drop and go out onto the right hand side, and it will become a little bit more of a kind of 4-4-2 formation. Something to keep an eye on anyway. 12 minutes gone here. It is still 0-0, and Barrow have got the ball by the halfway line. Meanwhile, Mansfield Town have got a penalty at Sixfields this afternoon, as Barrow now have a free kick, and Northampton are down to 10. Jake Garner. What have they? Thanks, mate. Thanks for that. What have they switched to here? Notts gone 4-4-2, haven't they? Really? McCrory out at left fullback at times.
It'll be interesting to see what happens when they've not got the ball.
Yeah. I think Jim O'Brien's going left at times. Bit of a back five. 5-4-1. O'Brien going left.
Yeah.
Oh my. Doesn't lack any confidence. Good stuff, Jake Garner. Thank you very much indeed. And advantage Stags in a couple of ways there, not just the goal advantage, the man advantage as well, after Northampton have gone down to 10 men. Here, Barrow had a free kick, a full 40, maybe 45 yards out, and John Rooney said, yeah, why not, I'll hit this, and he did, and it was a full-blooded strike, but it again was always going to go up over the top of the goalkeeper's crossbar. Joe McDonald's taken that goal kick, and again not the best connection with it, and the ball's now bouncing in his penalty area as Rawlinson does just about enough to shepherd the ball out, with Dior Angus nipping at his heels. I'm just looking across to the right hand side, can see the Notts County travelling supporters, who, as Lee was saying a few moments ago, everything here is exposed to the elements apart from this commentary position, but away to our right there's I would say probably a good 300 over there. Some of them behind the goal away to the right-hand side, and then curling around the corner onto the far side, which is a very, very good showing from those Notts County supporters when you consider how far away Barrow is. In fact, I saw a random Notts County supporter wearing the away kit, the blue one from last season, in a random Cumbrian village that I was passing through on the way to Barrow earlier on today. I assume he was heading this direction as well. Crawford sticks his head on the ball and tries to help it on his way. Michael Doyle likewise now, and you've got Wilson and Thomas, both of them legging it after the ball down the right hand side. It's Wilson who gets there, and he's done an air shot really. He's tried to cross it with his right foot, it's hit his standing boot and gone behind for a goal kick. 15 minutes gone here. Barrow 0, Notts 0, but Barrow firmly on top.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're the better team in possession, but Notts have had some encouraging moments there. I mean, again, it was a lovely ball from Doyle just in behind, just to get Wilson's pace away. Unfortunately, he just couldn't make the most of it, and they've got to try and do better in those situations.
Notts had it back briefly for a moment as both sides are being a touch scrappy in possession, as Doyle now nods it down, and Rooney's the man who gets on the end of it. Plays it out onto the right-hand side for Sam Hurd. Down the right, and he goes back up towards the halfway line where White will take over. Square across the middle of the midfield. Lewis Hardcastle, the number 10, has dropped a little bit deeper. He gets away from Tom Crawford, who slips. He's now on the edge of the penalty area. Tried to lay it off for Rooney, but Jim O'Brien pounced on it, and now Thomas has given the ball away, and Rooney's back on it once more. Pivots on it, finds Quigley. Couple of deflections, down he goes. Penalty to Barrow. Damien McCrory can count himself a little bit unlucky there, I think. Quigley's a big body, he's difficult to defend against, and as the ball's fizzed in from Wayne Rooney, it's deflected off of McCrory, it's deflected off of Quigley, back onto McCrory. The ball has then gone round the corner. It would have seen Quigley turn the Irishman, and down he goes. And John Rooney has gone across and grabbed the ball. Damien McCrory's protests continue, and it will be a penalty to Barrow. Michael Doyle having a word with the referee as well. Jim O'Brien stood on the edge of the penalty area, hands on hips. I think he'll be a little bit frustrated a few moments ago with Wes Thomas's distribution, which has seen them in the hole. Neil Ardley is currently giving Thomas quite the ear bashing, saying just get it clear, don't mess about with it there midway through your own half. So here we are at Holker Street, Notts County's first trip to Holker Street in many a year, and John Rooney has hit the post. The keeper had gone the wrong way, but the post there was able to stand up to the treatment, and Notts County have got a massive let-off. It's still 0-0.
Incredible moment of play there, really, and I understand why Neil Harley is absolutely going apoplectic at Wes Thomas. He should have just lumped the ball downfield, played a careless square pass in front of the area, cut out, put Notts back under pressure. Ball comes in, McCrory loses the physical battle. I mean, it was a great penalty. It hit the pace, looked to find that far corner, but fortunately for Notts, it's hit the woodwork. Hopefully that can be a turning point.
17 minutes on the clock, and Wes Thomas is having to stand right next to where Neil Ardley is on the edge of his technical area now, and I'm sure he won't want to hang around there for too long, given that his sloppy play just a few moments ago was what led to that penalty. But a real let-off as John Rooney was looking to get onto 20 goals for the season. Many of them will have come from the penalty spot, and fortunately the Woodwork standing strong. Meanwhile, Angus and Doyle engaged in a little bit of tussling on the far side. Never one to back down from a fight is Michael Doyle, no matter how much bigger the striker might be, and he's done enough there as the Irishman to shepherd it out. Conor Rawlinson meanwhile having a word with the referee, just saying that he's using his elbows a little bit, as is Quigley. They're both big strikers. I mean, Quigley's the biggest. Quigley stands, as I say, about 6'3", and meanwhile he's putting Lacey under real pressure as McDonald plays it out short to him, and with Quigley straight on top of Lacey, Lacey is forced to knock it long, and it goes out for a throw-in on the far touchline. 18.5 minutes gone here, 0-0, but only thanks to that missed penalty by Rooney. Back to the goalkeeper now, Joel Dixon for Barrow, plays it long and away down the right-hand side. Looking for Quigley, looking for Kay, as Bagan lets it bounce, which is going to make it awkward, and that's gone out for a throw-in right next to the corner flag, away to our right-hand side. Kay takes it quickly into Quigley. Try to play a 1-2 and see Quigley round the corner, not managed to do so, and so instead it's out for a throw-in that Kay takes quickly. Again, Quigley shows, knocks it back to Hardcastle, edge of the penalty area, rolls it back to Rooney, who shoots. This one bobbles along, takes a bounce just outside of the 6-yard box, and it goes straight through to the goalkeeper. And Joe McDonald claims it rather gratefully, as Rawlinson now drills one forward up over the top. Quite direct that from Notts, not what you usually see them do. Crawford now winning the ball back in the centre circle. Rooney comes across, it's a tough tackle, stamps down on the ball, but he does win the ball. Crawford also goes down, and Notts County have a free kick level with the halfway line and inside the centre circle. You're listening to Matchday on BBC Radio Nottingham. Myself, Charlie Slater, alongside the Nottingham Post's Lee Curtis this afternoon, as Mark Stallard continues to recover from illness. He'll be back shortly. I think he'll be back for Eastleigh next Saturday, all being well. He's on his Ollybobs this week coming, so we'll be partnered by John Thompson, the former Notts skipper, on Tuesday night for the visit of Aldershot at Meadow Lane. Notts have got quite a game on their hands here this afternoon against a Barrow side that are in real confidence, a real rich vein of form as well. Just the one defeat in their last 19 games, 2 in their last 27, and they've got a brilliant record here at Holker Street. They've won their last 5 on the spin. That'll be a free kick for Barrow, 10 yards inside the Notts half, out to the left-hand side. Dior Angus went down. Referee wants to have a word with, I think it's going to be Damien McCrory, who's bringing across. Yes, it is.
I mean, the one thing I would say about that penalty decision is that McCrory didn't get booked, did he? And he was, you know, Bowden was in a clear goal-scoring opportunity. So Notts can probably thank themselves looking that he didn't get carded for that.
Yeah, I think so. They've taken the free kick quickly, and it's rolled across towards White on the right-hand side for Barrow, but O'Brien comes across, wins it, gives it to Wes Thomas. That's really good from the Scotsman, but again, Thomas's care in possession is not what it should be, and he easily loses it. And it's now back with Sam Hurd again.
I mean, you just saw how quickly Barrow were there in the press, didn't you? Really intense. As soon as Wes Thomas got the ball, 2 or 3 players around him. And in those moments, Notts have got to try and be a bit better.
It takes real confidence to press a team with that level of energy, because when you're attacking the ball like that, you're obviously leaving space in behind, but Barrow are just so confident that they're going to win the ball back, that they're going to force the opposition into an error. And yeah, Notts do have the skill and the quality that a lot of other teams in the National League don't have to be able to play themselves around that sort of press, but it will take a little bit of confidence in their own ability to be able to do exactly that. 22 minutes on the clock, throw-in taken down the right-hand side by Connell Rawlinson. Crawford tries to lob it up over the top down the right touchline. Cleared away once again by Barrow, and then a poor clearance from Alex Lacey that sees it go up over the top of the Brian Arrowsmith stand opposite us. We've got the Brian Arrowsmith stand opposite the Holker Street end away to our right-hand side, and this is just kind of the old main stand that we're in here. And if you're thinking atmosphere sounds a little bit flat, that's because we're kind of in a conservatory at the back of the stand, and we've got glass in front of us that could, you know, not to complain, because it is warm, give you that, and an indoor press box in this part of the country is probably a good idea, but glass could do with a clean, but that's by the by. Goalkeeper Joe McDonald will take the goal kick in a moment. A reminder that Mansfield Town are a goal up at Northampton, and Northampton are down to 10 men. Danny Rose scoring his 12th of the season. It was from the penalty spot here. John Rooney, younger brother of Wayne, has missed a penalty with 17 minutes on the clock after Quigley was bundled to the ground by Damien McCrory. McCrory got unlucky. I don't think there's any sort of debate as to whether or not it should have been a penalty. I thought it probably was. I thought he was just unlucky in the way that he did concede it, because it took 2 or 3 deflections as the ball pinballed between himself and Quigley for it to go behind him, and then as he tried to turn, Quigley went down, and yes, he went down looking for it because he's 6'4" and he wouldn't go down like that in the street, but it was still probably a penalty. I wonder if you agree, Lee. You might disagree. You're okay too.
No, I thought it was a penalty. I just thought Damien got muscled off the ball a little bit too easily, but again, it was one of those situations that could have been avoided. Not trying to take too many risks, trying to play nice football outside their own area. It's always a danger. They got it hopelessly wrong and almost got punished for it.
Free kick to Barrow after a bit of a clumsy bit of work from Connell Rawlinson, bundling into the back of one of the Barrow players about 20 yards inside the Barrow half. Didn't really need to happen. Goalless everywhere in the Premier League after 23 minutes or so. Arsenal against West Ham today, Sheffield United Norwich, Southampton Newcastle, Wolves Brighton, and Crystal Palace Watford. Lunchtime game finished Liverpool 2, Bournemouth 1. Here come Barrow with Angus, right side of the penalty area, drags his shot inches wide of Joe McDonald's far post. Neat play from Barrow again, showing why they are the division's top goal scorers, and Dior Angus wasn't far away from getting his 13th of the season.
Yeah, quickly allowed to turn far too easily in Notts' half, squares off. It was a lovely ball into the feet of Angus. I mean, from where we were sat, we had a great angle of it. He got just about everything right bar the finish. I mean, it was a whisker away, wasn't it, in the end?
So goal kick it will be. Joe McDonald will take his time over it, and while he is taking his time, we can cross back to Sixfields this afternoon and find out how the Stags are getting on against 10 men Northampton. 1-0 up the last time we checked. Thank you, Jake. 26 gone here at Holker Street, still 0-0 between Barrow and Notts. Notts starting the day 6th in the table as Crawford and Jim O'Brien get their wires crossed and go for the same ball. It means that a ricochet gives it back to the home side, and here come Barrow down the right-hand side. Dior Angus gets the touch, goes down, wanted a free kick. Many referees would give that. I think this one was right not to, and Jim O'Brien tries to thread it through to Thomas. Thomas would have been offside anyway, but he still didn't manage to control it. And Angus is looking at the linesman on this near side. Meanwhile, off the ball, something's happened involving Michael Doyle, who's rubbing his head and looking for blood, and looking towards Angus. And now the referees having to stop the game over a discussion on this near touchline. I wonder if you saw anything there, Lee.
I saw the referee lose complete control of the game there for about 30 seconds. I mean, you know, Barrow just playing on mindlessly, and the referee's got his back turned to the play. I mean, just incredible.
Yeah, referee this afternoon is Mr. Andrew Miller. His linesman, Jonathan Maskery, and Nicholas Hawksby. The fourth official is Glenn Hart on the far touchline, and one of the linesmen away to our right-hand side in question was getting a bit of a telling off, let's say, from Michael Doyle a few moments ago for not seeing the off-the-ball incident that I think involved Lewis Hardcastle, who used to be at Blackburn as a youngster. Stepping out of defence is Matt Platt, who's on loan from Blackburn, trying to move the ball forwards down the left-hand side, and again the ball running away from them thanks to a loose touch on that far side, and it's gone straight through to the Notts County goalkeeper Joe McDonnell. In the Championship this afternoon, lunchtime game finished: Bristol City 1, Fulham 1, Brentford are 2-0 up against Sheffield Wednesday, Birmingham 1-0 up against Reading. Leeds are beating Huddersfield by 1-0. Preston are beating QPR 1-0, and Stoke are beating Hull by 3-0. Middlesbrough 1-0 up at Charlton. Of course, early stages of those games, as it is here at Holker Street, where it remains 0-0. Last time Notts came to Barrow was the December of 1970, and they won by 2-1 that day. Not been here since, I should say, as Barrow were kind of kicked out the league. That was back in the days of elections and whatnot. And whilst they finished second bottom in 1972, they were voted out of the league, and Hereford, that great FA Cup run, were voted in their place. So it's been 48 years since they've been out of the Football League. Fortunately, they're not bitter about it. They have got over it. As Kay now picks it up on the right-hand side for Barrow. He's holding off Bagan, the Cardiff loanee, who's still shepherding him ever further back into his own half. Kay still on possession. Referee rightly lets play continue, and it's now with Jones, who switches it from left to right, back out in the direction of Kay, who tries to control it with his right heel. Doesn't manage to do so. Seems like the type of player who is easily frustrated, as we've seen a few times already, and he's hoofed the ball away, and I think the referee is thinking about booking him.
He is, he's giving him the yellow card here.
Which has not gone down all that well with the locals. I think that and the stick that he was giving the referee a few moments ago combined have probably led to that yellow card there, as the referee has tried to assert his control over the game, which, as Lee was saying a few moments ago, hasn't been all that totalitarian at times, as Kay wins the header from the throw-in, and Damien McCrory rolls it back to the goalkeeper Joe McDonnell, who'll take no chances, clears it away with his left foot, which is not his strongest, and it goes out for a Barrow throw-in on the near side. Hurd will take it. And whilst Barrow came flying out the traps, Lee Curtis, in the first sort of 15-20 minutes of the game, it's probably fair to say that their work's gone a little bit off the boil and gone a little messy since then, although they're working it nicely through the middle of the Notts midfield now, as Joel Bagan will clear it forwards. Not still, I think, probably second best in this game, but they have tried to establish themselves in it, and rather than Notts coming up to Barrow's level, Barrow have maybe come down to Notts' level a little bit with just a few stray passes over the last 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if that's one thing that would give you encouragement, is that you know, Notts are stopping Barrow from being quite as free-flowing as they were at Meadow Lane. It's just whether they can hurt them offensively. That's what we're all waiting to see, and just at the moment they've not been that good in possession.
Yeah, yet to really create any goal-scoring opportunities. The one shot that they did have goalless that springs to mind immediately was when the ball skewed into the direction of Joel Bagan, but before he could hit it, really, he was tackled. And so here we are, 31 minutes into the game, and not really to create a chance of note yet. So with Quigley, down the right-hand side he goes. Kay has shifted back up the touchline. There are 2 or 3 green shirts over there looking to cover the National League's top goal scorer. He turns away from his man, crosses it into the penalty area. Jim O'Brien back there on the edge of the 6-yard box covering. Tom Crawford looks to clear it away, stuck it straight up into the air. Michael Doyle lost it in the sun. I don't know how Crawford got his clearance quite so wrong there as he looked to volley it clear. He had plenty of time and space, and now off the ball, Michael Doyle has stuck his body in between himself and Rooney. Down goes Rooney, and that'll be a free kick from around 30 yards out and just to the left of centre. And if history has taught you anything in this game so far, 31 minutes into it, is that Rooney will hit this, because he's already hit 2 free kicks from further out.
Yeah, he's got the wind behind him as well, hasn't he? It was archetypal Michael Doyle there, wasn't it? Barrow starting to put a move together, and Doyle just commits what I would say a neat tactical foul, but obviously not got a lot to do to defend this free kick.
Yeah, Rooney stands over the ball. We've played, as I say, just over half an hour here at Holker Street this afternoon. You're listening to BBC Radio Nottingham. Myself, Charlie Slater, alongside the Nottingham Post's Lee Curtis this afternoon. Rooney over the ball. The ball is rolling off the spot, so you can see that the wind is having some effect. Some toilet tissue which has been caught up in Joe McDonald's net away to our right-hand side. McDonald in the bright pink number this afternoon. As I say, goalkeeping kits. Who'd have them? Rooney stands over the ball. His Barrow shirt blowing in the wind. Meanwhile, the ball continues to blow in the wind as well. Yeah,
the conditions are really, really difficult, aren't they? I mean, he's put that free kick down about 3 or 4 times. The ball just won't stop still.
Now, here comes Rooney to hit this with the wind behind him. It'll be hit with pace. It'll be hit with power as it curls and hits the other post. He's hit one post from the penalty spot, hit the other from a free kick from 30 yards out. He's looked so. His body language is so much like his brother's in those frustrated moments where he looks exasperated. He's starting to wonder what he'll need to do today to get a goal. And now Michael Doyle's come over and just slapped his hand and sort of said, you know, a few moments ago, nothing personal, but I had to block your runoff. Free kick it is. Well, excuse me, goal kick it is.
Joe McDonald was very confident there because he didn't even dive, did he? You know, obviously thought he was going wide. He was fortunate because the Woodwork spared his blushes.
Goal kick it is. I'll try not to get confused too many times this afternoon and call John Wayne, but you can see why I get the two messed up, and I'm not talking about Cowboys either. I'm talking about John and Wayne Rooney. It's going to be a Notts throw-in on the far touchline. Level with the halfway line pretty much, as Neil Ardley places the ball down for Conor Rawlinson to go across and take the throw. Referee has just told him he's nicked I don't know, I was going to say a yard, it might not even be that much, and then he goes and takes the throw in from the position that he wanted to in the first place anyway. Crawford flicks it up over the top. That's Wilson on the ball on the far side. He's surrounded by blue and white shirts, so very difficult to bring the ball down. Again, the conditions having their impact. It was grey and it was kind of dull and cloudy before kick-off, but blue sky and sunshine now as that wind has strengthened and shifted the clouds out of the way to our right-hand side. The Barrow supporters have got that sun firmly in their eyes, who stand in the terraced area behind Joe McDonald's goal away to our right hand side, so many of them having to put their hands up to shield their eyes. And the ball has gone up and long and over the top once again and straight through to the goalkeeper. 34 minutes have been played here. Check back in with Jake Garner again in a couple of moments to find out how the Stags are getting on at Sixfields. A reminder, they're playing Northampton today, who are chasing the playoffs, but they are a goal up, are the Stags, and also a man up, having Northampton having had a man sent off in the lead up to the penalty that saw Danny Rose give Mansfield their lead. And we'll cross to Jake now. Quite like Hoskins, good little football.
Yeah. Knots are doing all right, hanging in there.
Yeah, that's all they can do in it on an afternoon like this. Get the wind with them in the second half and hope for the best. Oh. Tell it my hand back. Come on, mate. Thank you, Jake. Michael Doyle battling for the ball here in the centre circle, which is now bathed in sunshine. Long shadows being cast by all the players in the floodlights, as well as Dior Angus and Tom Crawford play a game of pitter-patter between themselves and try to control the ball. Eventually Notts have it, but again, every time the ball goes forwards, they rarely hit their target, hit their teammate, and it's now with Angus, who slides it through the lines in towards Hardcastle. Forward comes Lacey, out towards Rooney, who will fake to shoot, turns it onto his left-hand side. He's all right-footed, so he gives it out onto that left wing, where Patrick Brough tries to square the ball across the 6-yard box, takes a deflection, and it goes behind for a third corner of the game. Notts County are about 10 minutes away from half-time here, where they continue to hang on in there against Barrow, who have certainly had the better of the first half. John Rooney has hit both posts, one from the penalty spot, one from a 30-yard free kick, and here comes a corner kick to be taken by Rooney as well. But again, as he puts the ball down, the wind blows it off of the spot that he wanted it. He'll have to take it quickly. Here comes the in-swinger, in at the near post, scrambled away by Richard Brindley. Back out towards Rooney on the Barrow left once more, and his cross curls and goes behind for a Notts County goal kick. I imagine the Magpies manager Neil Ardley on that far side, while he stands at the moment with his arms folded. Lee Curtis will be, whilst perhaps not satisfied with the performance, satisfied with the scoreline.
Absolutely. I think if there's one thing that he would definitely want, it'd be one, not just to calm it down, just to have a nice period of play in possession. But, you know, encouragingly for Notts, I mean, apart from the Angus chance and the penalty, Barrow have found it difficult to find a way through. I mean, before he handed over to Mansfield, there was a nice opportunity for Jim O'Brien. He got down in the corner, put a decent ball in the box, and he just couldn't make the most of it.
O'Brien trying to turn it forwards again, trying to find Wilson. You really see the wind there. For all the world, it looked like the clearance from the centre half was about to come in our direction and out for a throw-in. The wind got hold of it, and next thing, it blew it almost round a corner. It somehow stayed in, and Scott Quigley was the grateful recipient of it. But Notts are going to have a throw-in about 20 yards inside their half, just away to our right-hand side. We can just about see the top half of Damien McCrory's body over the top of all of the heads of the Barrow supporters. It's one of the things I would say about Holker Street today, and there's absolutely no reason why it wouldn't be the case given how well Barrow are going, but it's lovely to see a National League ground as full as this, and as boisterous as well, because the Barrow supporters do get behind their team, and as I say, the players have given them plenty reason to do so. But nice to come to an away game in the National League and see it so well supported, particularly an outpost like this, like Barrow, looking to get themselves a Cumbrian derby next season, because it looks like Carlisle aren't going anywhere out of League Two. As I mentioned earlier on, it's been 48 years since Barrow have been out of the Football League. Here comes Patrick Brough down the left-hand side. Tell a lie, that was Dan Jones, not the Dan Jones that used to be at Notts County. Tried to force it forwards to Patrick Brough, but back there was Richard Brindley, who clears it away through a throw-in on the far side. Good player, Richard Brindley. He's proved to be a good addition this season, Lee Curtis.
Yeah, very solid, very dependable. I mean, I like that battle for the right-back spot, because I really like Dion Kelly-Evans as well. I mean, even though he's giving up plenty in terms of feet and inches to the rest of the players in the National League, he's got great spirit, and I mean, that competition for places is excellent, isn't it, in both full-back positions, really.
Rooney's on the ball. Captain's armband strapped to his left bicep. He curls it forwards into the chest of Angus, but a difficult one for his striker to control. And Notts try to bring it away down the left-hand side. Wilson plays it rather aimlessly down that left wing and gives it straight back to Barrow. Once again, you get the sense that this is an important final 5 minutes of the first half. If they were to concede now, it would be a real body blow for Notts County, as Barrow continue to kick downhill with the wind behind them, with all of that confidence of a team that sits 5 points clear at the top of the National League as well. And they have another free kick on the far side, a little bit clumsy again from Conal Rawlinson as he gives one away. Quigley's an awkward old character though to keep under wraps. He's strong and he's a real handful until he doesn't want to be strong, and next thing you know, he hits the deck and he gets a free kick. He's
good old-fashioned centre forward, isn't he?
Certainly is. Yeah, absolutely.
Buys a tackle, puts himself about, not particularly blessed with pace, but you can see why he scored so many goals.
Rooney's going to stand over the free kick again and again. The ball's going to roll off the spot, and again you'd imagine Rooney will probably hit this one. It's a bit further out than the last one. Last one was about 30 yards because of the angle. This one's about 35 yards. It's probably 10 yards to the left of centre as well, and once more Rooney's put the ball down. It's rolled off the spot. He is at the centre of everything that Barrow tend to do well, and as I say, he's hit both posts already today. It's almost going to be like rugby, this. Hardcastle's going to go and hold the ball. In fact, no, he's going to play it short to him because they just couldn't get the ball to sit still on the spot in the end, and so they've gone short from this, trying to play it through down the left-hand side on the inside channel. Richard Brindley's back there, though, and then it was a bit of a case of after you, Maud, after you, Claude, between him and Joel Bagan back there. Bagan switched across from the far flank, and now he's out of position. Here's Kay, going to try and beat Crawford. Does do, gets his cross in at the near post, cleared away by the Welshman Rawlinson. Back out onto the right hand side once more to Kay. It's a bit crowded over there at the moment as Doyle and Rooney join the party, so Kay keeps hold of it, tries to get it away from Crawford, but Crawford's done well. He nicks it off of Kay, finds Jim O'Brien, who in turn squares the pass to Michael Doyle. Forward from Bagan, straight back to a Barrow shirt once again, and 42 minutes ticks by here at Holker Street. John Rooney on possession once more. This is neat as they play it in between themselves. Quigley to Angus, and in the end Angus's ball in behind. Rooney was a touch behind him, and it was also a really good tackle back there as Notts can breathe a sigh of relief, take a breather as well as they win a free kick 20 yards inside their own half.
Great defending there by Conor Rawlinson at the near post, spotted the danger, and that was followed up by another fantastic challenge from Joel Bagan. Set Notts on the counter attack. Unfortunately, Notts couldn't get further up the field. The ref rightly pulled it back and gave Notts the free kick. But I think if Notts can get into the break on level terms and then have the wind in the second half, they'll be happy with that. Absolutely,
yeah, considering the amount of pressure that has been poured in their direction as well. Free kick's been taken by Alex Lacey, plays it down the left hand side, ball's held up in the air, and now Jim O'Brien will try to stab it past his man Kay and go down and win a free kick. And Michael Doyle is right on the referee's case to say, hey, Kay's already been booked, by the way, just so you know, and that one might go down as a cynical one. In case you were wondering, that'll be exactly what the Irishman is saying. And then he's got a word for Josh Kay as well. Both of them are combative, both of them aren't going to back down, and more importantly, Notts have got a free kick in a really dangerous position.
I mean, out of all the Notts players today, I think Jim O'Brien has probably been the best in possession in terms of cute little flicks around the corner. I mean, he was very direct there, went at his man, won the free kick. I mean, what a great chance this is to put the Barrow defence under pressure. The only problem is they've not really got a lot of height in there.
Well, here comes Jim O'Brien to take it. Doyle there as well. And I just wonder if O'Brien's going to hold the ball on spot again as if it were like amateur rugby. That looks like what he's going to do. He's going to have his hand on the ball, and now Michael Doyle can take the outswinging free kick, which is beyond everybody and a bit of a waste in the end. But it just feels like the players, both teams, are being distracted by the ball at dead ball situations, because I say dead ball, the ball is anything but dead. It keeps moving as the wind blows it off the spot at every opportunity, whether that be a free kick or a corner. We've got less than a minute to go at the end of the first half, and then we'll find out how long's being added on. Here's Rooney, turns it first time down the left hand side. Wind will get hold of that and blow it all the way through to Joe McDonnell, who was settled into the game. Bit of a nervy start for him in the early stages. A couple of poor balls and decisions as well, but since then, as I say, settled into the game, and will have that wind with him in the second half, which should help with his kicking. It's not the strongest, and it certainly doesn't help when he's having to kick it into a gale. That's a good ball forward, which forces a Notts throw-in on the far side. Wes Thomas was the closest man to Dan Jones out there. Used to be at Hartlepool and Gateshead and Grimsby, not Notts County. That's a different Dan Jones. And as Thomas looks to get in front of him down the right hand side, can't do so. Does just enough on the far side, does the Barrow defender, and it will run behind for a goal kick. So we're at the end of the first 45 minutes, and we'll see 2 minutes of additional time added on. John Rooney tries to clear it. They've both lost the ball, both him and Jim O'Brien, and spins away from the pair, and Barrow back in possession once more. Hurd with the ball forwards up towards Angus. He's got the top of his hair bleached blonde as Richard Brindley then turns it back to his goalkeeper, and McDonnell does well to clear it away from close range onto the top of the old Brian Arrowsmith stand opposite us. You know, the old Brian Arrowsmith stand. And out for a Barrow throw. Just about see some of the water around the stadium here. Pretty close to the coast here, and there's a little inlet of water which sits just in behind that stand away to our right, and some hills away to the left. Otherwise a very industrial town is Barrow. Plenty of factories, warehouses and docks. It's with Kay being forced ever further away from the Notts penalty area by Joel Bagan, basically shepherded him back up towards the halfway line, and we've played a minute of the 2 that have been added on. Neil Ardley can nearly breathe a sigh of relief and say that they have got to half-time with it goalless, which for a time in this first half didn't look likely. Throw-in for Barrow on that far touchline where Neil Ardley stands on the edge of the Magpies technical area, to be taken by Dan Jones. Michael Doyle keeping an eye on a couple of Barrow players there in the middle. It goes to Quigley in the end. Now across to Rooney. Through ball trying to find either Kay or Angus. Cleared away before it could reach him. And instead, it's out for a throw-in on this near touchline. Rooney comes across, retrieves the ball. There's only about 20 seconds or so remaining at the end of the 2 minutes additional time. And Barrow continue in their possession, but the referee blows his half-time whistle. Right fullback, right wing back, Richard Brindley. Left wing back, left fullback, if you will, because even though it's a 3-4-1-2 formation at times, it's kind of been more 5-3-2. Is Joel Bagan. 3 centre halves: Conor Rawlinson, Alex Lacey, and Damien McCrory. In midfield, Michael Doyle, Tom Crawford, Jim O'Brien up top, Wes Thomas and Scott Wilson. And Notts have the ball, and they want to get out on the front foot immediately in this, the second half, the early stages of it. And they've got a free kick in a good position on the left wing and about 10 to 15 yards outside of the penalty area. My name's Charlie Slater. You're listening to BBC Radio Nottingham. The Nottingham Post, Lee Curtis joining me on commentary duties this afternoon here up at Barrow, near the Lake District in the far northwest of the country. He'll be along in just a moment or so. Standing in for Mark Stallard, who's a little bit under the weather, but getting back to fitness very, very soon indeed, we hope. Jim O'Brien will take the free kick. It'll be an in-swinger with his right foot. There's a 2-man wall, one of them being John Rooney, who hit the post twice in the first half, one from a penalty spot and one from a 30-yard curling free kick. Here comes the free kick from Jim O'Brien, in at the feet of the goalkeeper. It bounced just in front of him. Fair play to Joel Dixon. He managed to gobble it up easily enough, which could have been a tricky one because Notts County players were right on top of him.
Right idea, just nobody couldn't get in front of, couldn't get across the face of the goalkeeper there, but it was a decent ball in from Jim, and as we see, the wind is causing all kinds of problems. Michael Doyle in possession for Notts. He slips as he plays it down the left-hand side. O'Brien helps it up over the top as well, and Wilson will chase. It's a foot race between him and the ball. He will win, will he? No, he gets there, and in the end it was his touch that let him down. The ball still runs behind for a goal kick. We've not even played 2 minutes yet, Lee, but it already feels like with that wind behind Notts, the Magpies feel just a bit more confident and a bit more comfortable. Yeah, I felt a bit there for Scott, because he got away, pace carried him to the board, just didn't trust his left foot. If he'd have put his left foot around it, he would have kept it in, but you could see how he's so one-footed there, and unfortunately it went out for a goal kick. But again, you know, as we've seen, one ball over the top, you know, Barrow caught square, encouraging signs.
Rooney plays it down the right-hand side for Barrow, looking to find Angus. McCrory taking a bit of time there as he tried to turn his body around the ball to get it clear, and as a result Angus is on top of him. Barrow are back in possession with Quigley, edge of the penalty area, back to goal, lays it off for Angus, but he goes down inside the penalty area or on the edge of it. A few shouts for a free kick, but the referee not interested, and it's back with Notts again on the left-hand side. Bagan hits it rather aimlessly, really, easily dealt with by Matt Platt, the Barrow defender, and Crawford rolls it out to Conor Rawlinson. Rawlinson stepping out of defence, playing it into the feet of Thomas, back to goal 10 yards outside a penalty area. Round the corner, he turns it to Crawford, likewise to Brindley on the right-hand side. Tries to pick out Wilson in the penalty area with a right-footed cross. It's dealt with easily enough again by the Barrow defence, but more encouraging signs for Notts County, who have got the ball forward and into dangerous positions, I think, more times already in the early stages of this second half than what they managed in all of the first half. But Barrow on the ball again now, down the left-hand side with Jones. Brough a touch further forwards down that left-hand side. Back to Jones once more, and they'll go back to the middle of defence to Platt and Jones level with the halfway line. Tom Crawford comes out to meet him. Ball comes up towards us, towards the back of this stand. No fear that it's going to hit us because we're in a box, literally a box, a glass case of emotion in front of us today. There are windows right in front of us, and if you're thinking it sounds a bit quiet, that is why, because actually Barrow are quite well supported, and in front of us there's loads of bodies who are stood in this old terrace stand that we sit at the back of. Likewise opposite in the seated area and away to our right hand side in the terrace. I think a few people have moved around to try and take shelter from the elements as the weather is starting to turn in the second half. Just a moment ago there, goalkeeper coming out as Wes Thomas was bearing down on him, and he just about got away with it. Good Joel Dixon. And Barrow have a free kick that they take quite quickly. 4 minutes into the second half. Up to Angus. Turns Rawlinson. In goes O'Brien. Catches Angus, but in there as well was Hardcastle. They carry on, and it's with Rooney, who takes maybe a touch too many, and now Jim O'Brien and him battling for the ball on the far side. That's a good little contest, that. And it goes out for a throw-in on the far side. Rooney goes across and wants to take it. 50 minutes on the clock here at Holker Street. It's with Quigley, gets a touch out of his feet, was about to fire, but Rawlinson, the ever-present virtually for Notts County this season, throws himself at his feet, and Notts managed to clear it back up to the halfway line once again. They're going to have to turn the floodlights on here. They have done, but they're not the strongest nor the brightest of floodlights at Holker Street.
It's brighter here, isn't it?
I think it might well be. It's warmer too, that's for sure. Jim O'Brien gives it to Bagan, plays it up over the top. Again, they're just trying to sneak one in behind for either Wilson or Thomas to get on the end of, but the distribution will have to be a bit better than that to catch the Barrow defenders out. And it's with White, 40 yards from goal, rolls it across the midfield to Hardcastle, now to Angus outside of the penalty area, back to goal once again, tries to steer away from a couple of green shirts. Not's in their green today. Jones is going to shoot from range, keeper makes a good save. Ball was moving in the air as he hit it. It was a real firm effort, hit by Dan Jones from all of 30 yards, and we saw the ball wiggle in the air, swerve from right to left, and the goalkeeper Joe McDonald had to keep a close eye on it. He palmed it away, fortunately not into the path of any blue shirt, and Notts breathe a sigh of relief. 51 minutes on the clock, still goalless here.
It was a really good effort, in fairness. Cut across the ball was moving all over the place, wasn't it? I thought Joe did exceptionally well to get hold of it and palm it away from danger, and it's cleared. That's
a long throw into the penalty area, but a really good punch. Right-fisted haymaker from McDonnell as he clears it 30 yards out of his penalty area, and now Doyle's onto it, plays it down the inside left channel. Thomas wants to get there, and there was a bit of miscommunication just for a moment between the goalkeeper and Matt Platt back there for Barrow. In the end, Platt had to take control of the situation, which he did. In the meantime, going the other way, a long ball forward from Barrow. Over the top, McCrory backtracking, he tried to flick it back to his goalkeeper, got it wrong, and it's gone behind for a corner kick.
Yeah, it just seemed to be a lack of communication there. I don't know whether the keeper could have given him a shout or Damien could have headed the ball either way. He didn't do either, and we've all of a sudden Notts have got to defend a corner.
It'll be Rooney, he'll take the corner, goes short, takes it quickly, tries to catch Notts, nap him. Back to Rooney, 1-2, and then a 3-4, but the 4 broke down, and that means that Notts can intercept with Brindley. Tries to get it away from a couple of Barrow players, and then Cruyff turned back in between them on the far side, asking to do a lot of himself, and he's conceded possession. Out on the right-hand side it goes. Bagan makes the tackle at the feet of Rooney, and that'll be a throw. Takes that one quickly as well. Nutmeg attempt made there by Kay on the far side. He manages to keep hold of the ball and crosses it into the penalty area. It's headed away by Lacey once more. It's who you get the sense that who's going to deal with these conditions, who's going to master the conditions on an afternoon like this, such a windy afternoon here. You wonder whether or not that is going to be such a telling factor in this game. In that first half, Barrow had the wind behind them, and every time they played the ball forward, it often seemed to get away from them and roll out for either a goal kick or a throw-in. You wonder, with the ball holding it up in the second half, whether they can even turn that to their advantage.
I think it's going to be one of those afternoons where it's either going to be a mistake or a bit of genius that opens this game up. It's very, very tight, very cagey. The one thing I will say, touch wood, is that Notts have defended their box really, really well. I think Joel Bagan and Conor Rawlinson have been absolutely superb so far.
Well, they're back on the ball again, are the Magpies, with Michael Doyle inside the Barrow half. McCrory has to skip into a challenge as Doyle left it maybe a little bit short, and in the process the ball has ran away for a throw-in on the far side near the Barrow corner flag. And I think that one might have caught Jim O'Brien in a rather painful area on the far side. He's down on all fours, and at this juncture, while O'Brien makes sure that he's okay and that everything's still in place, we'll cross to Sixfields, find out how the Stags are getting on in the very early stages of this, the second half. I know you're a few minutes behind us, but you were winning 1-0 last time we spoke, Jake. Thank you, Jake. Meanwhile here, Michael Doyle has just won a free kick. He's not very happy as well with
Is he ever happy?
You know, rarely. Even after he scored that goal from 50 yards out, it was like, bet you never scored a goal like that. It was like, well, kind of have.
In fairness, though, it was a good goal.
It was a good goal, yeah, it was a good goal. That one for... It was at Portsmouth, wasn't it?
Against Accrington, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that's right. It was a good goal, that one. Meanwhile, not so ready in a double change by the looks of things on the far touchline. Cal Roberts and Kyle Wootton are stripped and ready to come on, and receiving instructions from Neil Ardley. Anyway, the free kick's been taken by Notts. It's knocked long, far too long in the end, and the wind is just blowing that ball ever further in front of Wes Thomas, who was being held off by Josh Kay back there as well, and that will run out for a goal kick. 55 minutes have been played, 0-0. Interesting that Wootton and Roberts are coming on, Lee Curtis. They are both, I think you would argue, positive substitutions.
Well, we did wonder how long it would be before we saw either Wootton, Roberts or Enzio, and clearly he's given it 10 minutes, and he's obviously looking to them just to give Notts a little bit of spark up front. Here comes Barrow.
Yeah, here comes Angus down the left-hand side, inside the penalty area, looks to cut back, lost his footing in the process. Conor Rawlinson was over there with him, and then Lacey came across to clear, and let's breathe a sigh of relief as Angus was looking to turn on the afterburners and sprint past the Welsh centre-half for the Magpies.
I don't know about you, but I love watching Callum Roberts play.
Yeah,
I do get excited.
He's neat, he's tricky,
yeah.
He wants to go wide as well. He offers something that Notts don't really have, as Rawlinson messes up his clearance and then thunders his second one into the studs of Dior Angus. Fortunately, McDonnell was quick to it and he catches the ball. Yeah, he does certainly offer something that Notts don't have, and he's just got that. I can't tell you the amount of times I've come away from Notts games this season and gone, do you know, they missed a little bit of devilment today.
Yes.
And Roberts has the devilment.
Well, he was brilliant on Tuesday night, wasn't he? I know. I'm not sure how he left that game with any ankles left, but
yeah.
You know, when he picks the ball up in the centre of the pitch and goes at the heart of defences, you know, people at this level just panic. He's such an exciting prospect.
Yeah, indeed. Well, here comes the change. Scott Wilson is going to make way.
Not surprised about that one, to be fair.
No, not really ever been in the game today. Gets a handshake and a pat on the back of the head from Neil Ardley, and on comes Cal Roberts first of all, and we'll find out that it's a straight swap, and Roberts, by the looks of things, is going to go up top alongside Kyle Wootton, because Wes Thomas is also coming off, another man who's not really got into the game. But if Mark Stallard was here, part of the Strikers Union, he would say, well, they've not had great service either.
No, and as I centre forward in my primary school days, thank
goodness we've got you here for
that. Yeah, it's been a real difficult afternoon for the centre forwards. I wouldn't have enjoyed playing that myself. You know, it's very, very difficult to get them into the game. The service has not been great. You know, they've had to feed off scraps. But obviously, Kyle does offer a bit more physical presence. And hopefully with Callum alongside him, he can just perhaps give him that little bit of trickery and bit of service that Notts are crying out for.
We've played 58 minutes, so approaching the hour mark here now at Holker Street, and Notts have got another free kick. John Rooney absolutely batters one of his teammates, verbally, I should point out, for giving him a poor pass and loses the ball, gives away a free kick in the process. It must have been fun bringing up him and his brother as when they were kids. Crikey, that would have been a busy house. Richard Brindley on the ball, does well. The old fullback's trick, man between body between ball and man, and down he goes when he gets the contact. And here comes Cal Roberts down the right hand side. He nearly beats a couple of players, and it's only John Rooney back there, who I know you might be thinking I'm saying his name a lot. It's because he is everywhere for Barrow. He is a bit Mr. Everything for them, and crikey me, if I was sitting here today in a scouting capacity, I'd be looking at him and going, he's the one.
Yeah, good player. Very good player. I mean, how many goals he scored this season
19.
from centre midfield? I mean, that's probably one thing for me. What Notts have lacked this year is probably a goal-scoring central midfield player. I mean, as great as it's been to see the forwards all hit double figures, you know, 3 of them. You just want, you know, it's nice to have a centre midfield player who can chip in with 10, 12 goals.
Yeah.
And maybe that will be the next part of the evolution of this team. You know, we'll wait and see what happens in the summer. Yeah,
perhaps so. I mean, as you point out, Jim O'Brien had 1 goal to his name this season, albeit it's been a season that's been very interrupted by injury. Michael Doyle, the 1, Crawford, the 1, and Mitchell Rose, the 3. Rose not involved here today, not even on the bench. That I would imagine because he's played an awful lot of football and will need a rest. Not with the Saturday, Tuesdays that are going to keep on coming. Neil Ardley having to use his squad ever more now down the stretch. And there's Josh Cave on the far side, beats a couple of Notts players, cuts him past Kyle Wootton, down he goes. I thought he was sure to get a free kick. He's
good
not
defending.
got one.
Good defending.
Kyle Wootton back there in the end, and I think we were all a little surprised that he didn't get a free kick for that. He was forlorn on the ground for a moment, frustrated, and up he's got again now, and play will continue. Excuse me. Hour on the clock here at Holker Street. First time Notts have been here since 1970. Notts won 2-1 that day. I believe Sir Les Brad scored. Here comes Cal Roberts, cutting in off the right wing, fires with his left foot, and then goes down wanting a free kick himself, which he doesn't get. And Hardcastle will bring the ball away up towards Quigley, who's left Damien McCrory for dead on the halfway line. Rooney and Angus are options in the middle. Quigley still going, but the goalkeeper will get there. Oh, it's a shocker of a challenge from Scott Quigley.
Surely that's a red card.
Two-footed on the goalkeeper. The Notts players apoplectic with the top scorer in the division who has seen a red.
Yeah,
that is a red card that the referee's held up,
tackle.
and they're still giving him a shove and a push, and Joe McDonnell's in real trouble. He's injured. Remember, Notts don't have a goalkeeper on the bench, so they'll have to go to a plan B if McDonnell can't continue. It's a stinker of a tackle from Quigley. Such a poor tackle that nobody's complaining. Nobody. I think even John Rooney, the captain, has gone across now. He's maybe just having a word, but nothing more than that. It looked a really unnecessary late lunge from Scott Quigley, the division's top goal scorer. He didn't need to do it. From here it looked like the ball had ricocheted too far in front of him, and why on earth he felt like he needed to jump in two-footed into that one, I'll never know.
I mean, as soon as he did it, I thought it was a red card. Off the ground, reckless. I mean, it wasn't a ball he was ever going to win. I mean, his manager must be absolutely kicking himself because, you know, he didn't have to do that, but it was such a badly timed challenge. And as soon as you saw it, thinking, you know, when you see some tackles like that, you go, yeah, that's a definite red card. No complaints. And to be fair to the striker, Quigley, he didn't even complain himself, did he?
Well, you'd struggle to. If I two-footed you here in the press box, I wouldn't be all that mad if you were angry about it. I think you'd have every right to be angry.
Yeah, I probably would be.
Exactly. Do you know what I mean?
Hopefully that doesn't happen, though.
No, I don't see it happening today anyway.
I don't think the Post's health insurance would
mention Liverpool one more time, see what happens. Damien McCrory 10 yards inside his own half. I know, I've noticed, and there was a sweepstake running amongst Notts fans for how long it would take. Who'd have thought it'd be me that brings it up? 63 on the clock. Here's Wootton, nearly got past the last line of defence down that left-hand side. I should just point out, Joe McDonnell, the goalkeeper, is all right. He's just sort of readjusting his his dry fit shorts underneath his goalkeeping shorts, and a little bit of a sore one, I'm sure, but I think he's going to be absolutely fine to continue. One of my immediate thoughts was, oh goodness, all season Neil Ardley's spoken about, well, we won't have a goalkeeper on the bench because, you know, it hardly ever happens, and statistically you're likely to lose the game if you lose your goalkeeper anyway, so we just have to put an outfield player in goal and make a substitution and blah 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 blah, but statistically very unlikely to happen. Well, it nearly happened. Notts got the ball meanwhile against 10-man Barrow now. What an opportunity this could be as the ball comes into the Barrow area, and Cal Roberts nearly got on the end of it as well. Had a couple of attempts at trying to get underneath the ball, but Barrow managed to scramble it clear. Damien McCrory now out to Bagan on the left hand side, and you just wonder with that man advantage, Lee Curtis, whether or not Notts will change the way that they're lined up. Jim O'Brien's onside, curls the ball into the penalty area, through to Roberts as a defender misses it. I think the goalkeeper's made a really good save in the end. Yes, he has, and it's gone behind for a first corner kick of the game for Notts.
That was an unbelievable opportunity. Great ball in. I thought Roberts did everything right, but fair credit to the goalkeeper. He made himself big, but encouraging signs for Notts. You know, Roberts has already been on the pitch 5 minutes. He's causing them problems, and hopefully they can make something of this set piece.
Corner kick to be taken away to our right hand side. That's not a bad ball as well, into the back post, and I think that's Alex Lacey back there, so close to getting on the end of it. There was just a Barrow man in his way at the back post, but a couple of really dangerous moments for Notts County, who've looked as good as they have done all game in the last few minutes. Certainly so much better in this second half with the wind behind their back, and when you see that, you start to give them even more credit for that first half performance of staying resolute at the back.
Yeah, I mean, they're just starting to ask a few questions of the Barrow defence now, and obviously, I mean, Notts should be boosted by the red card for Quigley. I mean, Roberts has already shown in the 5 minutes he's been on the pitch just what a good player he is. He works hard, he's got great close control, and he's just a real pest.
Here's Brindley down the right hand side for Notts, gives it to Roberts, gets his ankles clipped by the ball as Brough makes a strong tackle on the halfway line, but he's straight back up to his feet, and the former Newcastle man gives it to McCrory, who slides it down the left hand side for Bagan. Here come the Magpies, loads of men queuing up on the edge of the box. One of them's Crawford, who shoots, and it draws a save out of the goalkeeper, who dove down to his right hand side. There were what, 5 or 6 Notts players there breaking onto the edge of that Barrow penalty area, all of them looking to get on the end of that cross.
Great move, a lovely ball from McCrory down the left hand side, picked out Joel Bagan, and what I loved about him there, he didn't panic, didn't rush his pass, spotted Crawford in a good position. Ball into him was decent, he took a touch, good save at the near post. But I've just noticed as well that Notts is starting to be a bit more aggressive in the press now, and we'll just see, I think we're in for a fascinating half an hour.
There's Connell Rawlinson. That's a good ball down the right touchline for Brindley. First time cross from him will deflect behind, and that's going to be another corner kick for Notts. They went virtually an entire hour without getting a corner. They've now had 2 in the last few minutes or so. And I mean, we heard Jake Garner say before that Northampton have got their tails up at Sixfields. Notts have got their tails up here now at Holker Street this afternoon. They are not used to being put under massive amounts of pressure here. They are certainly not used to losing. It's still 0-0 at the moment. Here comes the corner kick into the penalty area. Lacey's up there challenging once again. It's going to fall to Tom Crawford on the left hand side of the penalty area. He plays a 1-2 with Doyle, and now back to the Irishman once more. Left footed cross is good. Lacey's up there, so's McCrory. Ball bounces, brilliant save made by the goalkeeper. Watson was there, so was Rawlinson. The keeper from point blank makes a brilliant diving save to his left hand side. It's another corner kick for Notts.
Do you know what? I thought it was in. As soon as he stuck his foot out, I thought that's going in the far corner, but somehow the keeper's kept it out. I mean, this is a great spell of pressure for Notts. If they can get a goal now, that would be fantastic.
So important. Roberts into the area. Another save. No, it's a goal. Tom Crawford with the head. Now that's a collector's item if you've ever seen one. Notts County lead at top of the National League. Barrow, 67 minutes on the clock. The corner into the penalty area. I'm not even sure Crawford knew that much about it. It smacked him on the head. 6 yards out. The keeper again made contact. Looked like he was going to keep it out, but in the end, I think the pace of the ball, which hit Crawford on the head, and the pace off of that is what beat the keeper. Notts are 1-0 up at Barrow with 67 gone.
Well, you just felt with the Quigley red card, were things turning in Notts' favour. They put together a good couple of attacks before that goal, and then the set piece. I mean, what a delivery that was. Picked out Crawford, inch perfect. I agree with you. I don't think he knew much about it, but they all count, don't they? Just crept into that far corner. We'll take that.
Absolutely. Well, Lee Curtis said it right a few moments ago. I think we're in for a really interesting, a really enthralling final half an hour. Make it around 25 minutes or so now, including a bit of stoppage time. This is exciting stuff. What a bonus this would be for Notts County if they were able to get something here. Neil Ardley said at Fylde it's the most important away win of the season. Well, you wonder if that would be usurped, surpassed by one here this afternoon at Barrow. A lot of work to be done between now and then. They've not lost here since the 3rd of September. They are top of the table for a reason. They score a lot of goals. In fact, nobody in the National League scores more goals than Barrow. And they will have plenty of threats still going forward, even though they have lost their top goal scorer, Scott Quigley, who was sent off just after an hour played for a late lunge, two-footed one at that, on Joe McDonnell, the Notts goalkeeper. That'll be a Barrow throw now on the far side. 69 minutes nearly have been played. And you get the sense as well, Lee, that it's a big 5 or 10 minutes now as Barrow will try to put everything in behind this. Led by John Rooney, of course, led by Josh Kay, who's been a real thorn in the side on the right-hand side today as well. This is an important 5 or 10 minutes that they try to not concede, get to the 80th minute, the edgy 80s, and then just try to keep it tight.
I'm really interested to see how Barrow deal with the loss of Quigley, because he's such a focal point of the attack. I mean, he is, you know, he's a big unit. He holds the ball up well. He's got decent feet for a big man. And here's a change for Barrow, so that wasn't a surprise really.
Yeah, double change on the way here for Barrow. Byron Harrison, who's a name that you may know, is coming on, and just one of the centre halves, Matt Platt, who is making way for him. Byron Harrison is tall and gangly and has his own threats for sure. The other change, we'll see the man I was just talking about a few moments ago, Josh Kay, he's going to come off, and Connor Brown will replace him. Byron Harrison's a man who feels like he's been around a long time, was a real threat, I think, under Paul Cox here a few years ago, and he will replace the target man threat that Scott Quigley provided before.
Yeah, I mean, he is a dangerous player. He's had a good career. I just think for these next 5 or 10 minutes, I mean, Notts look dangerous on the counter-attack here. They come forward again through Crawford. Yeah, Crawford down the right-hand side, 2 goals in as many games, or almost, for Notts County now, obviously. Scored against Aveley a week ago, and getting what it could prove to be a very, very important goal here this afternoon. Michael Doyle switching the play from right to left over towards Bagan, lifts it over the top, and it's through to the goalkeeper. The word Barrow is being chanted, but not by the Barrow fans, it's by the Notts fans on the far side who are singing the Wheelbarrow song. I can just about make it out from the far right hand corner. They are right on the opposite side of the stadium and tucked away to our right hand side. Really good from Notts County so far in this game. Managed to keep Barrow at bay in the first half when they were playing into the wind for Notts, and in this second half have really put the pressure on Doyle looking for a free kick. He jumped up out of the way of Byron Harrison as Kyle Wotton now putting some real pressure on Dan Jones, making Sam Hurd away to our right hand side and forcing him into a bit of an error, which will give Notts a throwing away to our right, and guess what, they'll manage the game or waste time away to our right hand side. Richard Brindley will not be in a rush to take this one. But the one thing I would say about this game now is there are openings presenting themselves to Notts. We've just seen there Carl Wotton putting pressure on the centre half. He's made a mistake, he's conceded a throw, and it was very, very cagey in the first half, but Notts look a lot more brighter in possession, or having a real go.
Crawford tries to turn it round the corner to Roberts on the edge of the Barrow penalty area, and does. Now it is Roberts. He skips in between 3 players in front of the goal! What 2-0 Notts! Brilliant from Cal Roberts. That is genius play from the young man. He threads his way between 3 Barrow players and then curls it into the far corner. He made that look like a Sunday stroll. Brilliant from Cal Roberts, who gets off the mark for Notts County. 72 minutes on the clock, 2-0.
What a goal. I mean, as he's picked the ball up there, he's on the edge of the box, you're thinking there's no danger, but he's got such a low centre of gravity, pops it round 2 players, takes them out of the equation, then it's all about the finish. Can he find the bottom corner? And it was a terrific effort. Keeper had no chance, and again, he's so exciting to watch. Love watching him, and that's what he's all about. You know, he can take players on. He's that low centre of gravity, defenders just don't know whether to go towards him, back off. What an asset.
That is exactly why Neil Ardley signed him. That is exactly why he scored all those goals in the non-league with Blythe, and that is a brilliant bit of individual magic from Cal Roberts here at Holker Street this afternoon. Connell Rawlinson plays it long down the right-hand side. We'll have a quick flash over to Sixfields. I say over, a long way to Sixfields. Jake Garner. Oh. Go on, Tom. Go on, Jim. Go on, Jim. Thank you very much. Meanwhile here, Jake, Jim O'Brien, brilliant. He's managed to make a free kick, get a free kick out of absolutely nothing in front of the Notts County supporters away to our right-hand side, and it's basically going to act as a short corner, this, about 5 or 6 yards in from the corner on the far side, and so O'Brien's over there, Roberts is over there as well, and while this is a really good opportunity for Notts, it's also just taking a bit more time off the clock, more time that Barrow aren't in possession, more time that they're not going to get a goal back, and well, Jim O'Brien will take this one with his right foot. The big men are forward. Lacey's up there. So is Wotton. He's got targets to pick out, including Rawlinson. Near post, keeper comes for it. Has to push it away. It almost bounces off of his chest in the end. And in the end, volleyed clear all the way up towards the halfway line, where Dior Angus will take over. But again, the Notts players are swarming. I've said again too many times in the last 20 seconds. I think I'm excited. McDonald comes out of his penalty area, knocks one long, and it's gone all the way through to, I'd say his opposite number, but Dixon wears the number 1 and McDonald wears the number 40, but you get what I mean. It's gone all the way through to the Barrow goalkeeper. 75 minutes on the clock. You are listening to Match Day on BBC Radio Nottingham. Myself, Charlie Slater, Lee Curtis from the Nottingham Post, who's proven to be a lucky penny this afternoon. So we'll have to keep that in mind. Alex Lacey wins a header and another. Michael Doyle volleys it high into the air, up over the top, and Cal Roberts is close at hand to the Barrow defenders as they look to clear it away. But here comes Lewis Hardcastle down the left-hand side. In the end, just outrun the ball, and Richard Brindley has seen it cross the line and go out for a Notts throw-in. Brindley doesn't want to take the throw, and so he says, now we'll leave it for Connell Rawlinson. And so Rawlinson, who always looks like, every time I think Connell Rawlinson is one of the players of the season, and he's probably got a shout for being player of the season for Notts County this season, but every time I see him throw the ball, it looks like it's the first time he's ever thrown the ball. Because he's a centre half, and the chances are he's very rarely in his life had to take throw-ins. I can't remember quite where it was the first time he was taking throw-ins, but I looked at him and went, I'm not sure he's taken a throw-in before. Everything else he does absolutely immaculately, but like I say, as a big burly centre-half, you're probably not asked to take throw-ins all that often, but he is here this afternoon. As things currently stand, Notts County remain 6th in the National League table on 57 points, with Solihull drawing and Hartlepool drawing behind them. It does open up a 2-point cushion, whereas at the start of the day today, 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th were all on 54 points. In fact, only, I think in the end it was 3 points separating Notts in 6th all the way down to Bromley in 12th. So it would be a big win if Notts can hang on here.
I think we've got to give credit to Neil Ardley today. I mean, everybody questioned that 3-4-1-2 formation. Would it work? You know, a lot of people saying, yeah, well, how can you drop Carl Wotton? But you've got to take your hat off to him. The tactics have been superb. They worked spot on, kept in the game at half-time. Then they made the changes. Could they go on and make themselves an attacking threat in the second half? He's brought on Roberts. You know, Crawford's come in and scored a goal. It's been a superb away performance so far.
Absolutely brilliant. Of course, he planned for Quigley to get sent off in the 61st minute. He knew that was coming as well.
Well, I think that
real
obviously felt like a turning point, didn't it? I mean, you could see from then that the Barrow shoulders began to shrink a little bit, and Notts found a little bit more belief. And I think the introduction of Roberts was absolutely ideal. I mean, he's come on and made such an impact.
Yeah, I think they've handled the wind behind them very well in this second half as well. There have been a number of turning points, quite probably most literally the actual turning point, seeing the wind behind their backs in the second half, as Barrow are now looking to play themselves out, and Notts are employing a high press on them at every turn at the moment. There's a green shirt behind them as Connor Brown tries to get it away down the right hand side. In behind him is Joel Bagan. We're about to see another change for Barrow, their final change of the game. It's Ollie Dyson who will come on, and Dior Angus will make way. So very different attacking lineup now to finish this game compared to the one that started it for Ian Evatt and the Bluebirds, as they are known in this part of the world.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Dior Angus was very, very good in the game at Medley. Apart from that chance in the first half, which he just put wide of the post, he's not really had much of an impact in the second half, so I can understand that change.
Games turn on these moments, and there have been, Barrow have had their moments. That Dior Angus effort, that penalty after 17 minutes that John Rooney missed when he hit the post, and then the free kick shortly after the half-hour mark that he hits the post with as well. It's all about those little moments and turning points, and they've gone in Notts County's favour so far this afternoon, as Bagan goes down on the far touchline, wins a free kick as well, and again it just takes some extra time off the clock. 79 minutes on the clock now. Notts County continue to lead here at Barrow by 2-0. That sounds impressive in itself, because Barrow are top of the table. Let me throw a few stats at you. They've lost only one of their last 19, 2 of their last 27. They've got the best home form of all teams in the division, with 41 points from their home games so far this season. They've only lost here 3 times this season, the last of those coming on the 3rd of September. So this is quite the afternoon for Notts County this afternoon, as Jim O'Brien takes the free kick. It goes in towards the keeper. Is it the bar? I think the keeper in the end had to touch it onto the crossbar as well. He was backtracking, the wind's got hold of it, that playing an influence once again, and whilst he backtracked, Joel Dixon didn't want to take any chances, and so he's just flicked that onto the top of the crossbar and then onto the roof of the net.
Yeah, great ball in again from Jim. I mean, the wind took it, didn't it? Keeper didn't know what to do, took safety first, measures it and tipped it onto the bar, but Notts are playing with real vibrancy at the moment. I mean, if they could get a third, I mean, that'd be wonderful.
Certainly would. Jim O'Brien with another corner kick, a right-footed in-swinger, this one straight into the gloves of the goalkeeper, Joel Dixon. Eat and drink that one for him, as we are now in the edgy 80s. I remember thinking we've got to get to the edgy 80s and then we'll see what happens, as Hardcastle's being put under all sorts of pressure with the high press. They've now beaten the high press, which means there's loads of space in behind for Barrow to try and get at, and it's going to go out for a throw-in on the far side. Good news at Sixfields, Jake Garner. Thank you, mate. I was like, I wonder what odds you get today for getting a cheeky fiver on Notts to win and Mansfield to win at Northampton. And then I thought, don't be so ridiculous.
You'd be able to retire.
You'd like to, don't you? Come on, keeper. Well done. Well done. Crikey me, you're home and dry. We don't feel anything like home and dry, and yet it's 2-0 to Mansfield at Northampton against 10-man Northampton. It's 2-0 to Notts at 10-man Barrow, and yet it just doesn't feel quite the same here. Just because Barrow have developed this reputation of being such a good team this season, you only need to glance at the National League table to see that. May I just say, 3,307 people here today, 433 are from Notts County. This is one of the furthest away trips of the season, and to bring 433 supporters today, for me, in my book, is quite magnificent. As Jim O'Brien wins the ball on the halfway line, tries to find Cal Roberts, looks to slip it through to him, and it's just cut away from him before he could get there. Jim O'Brien had to get that tackle right. It was on the halfway line, and Lewis Hardcastle is certainly feeling a little worse for wear because of it, but O'Brien's foot was high, you could see the studs, he's come through on the ball, and it's a good job he got the ball, because we all know how a referee would like to even things up, as he's already sent off the division's top scorer in Scott Quigley.
Yeah, I mean that was a foul there. But just going back to the stats that you were reading out, I mean, Barrow have been pretty free scoring this season. I think the last time they've failed to score in a game was in the National League, was against Solihull Moors back in January. Then before that, you have to go way back to October. When was the last time they failed to score? Which is against Solihull Moors again. You'll
do for me, Lee Curtis, with those sort of stats. Notts are making a change, and It's going to be Adam Long who's coming on, and Joel Bagan, who has just been booked for a bit of a clumsy tackle, who will be making way. What you made of Bagan today?
Brilliant. I think he's probably a contender for man of the match. I thought he's defended absolutely superbly. He hasn't dived in. He's showed great maturity. He's showed great presence going forward. He set up that chance for Crawford in the second half. He looks a real prospect. You can see why Cardiff rate him so highly. Indeed.
Free kick taken by Rooney, looking for Brough, edge of the penalty area, but at the back stick, if you will, as then Byron Harrison bundles into the back of Richard Brindley. You'll often see a full-back stick his body between the ball and man and then wait for the slightest little bit of contact and then go down. Brindley had no other option but to go down there, as Harrison was really quite clumsy as he's powered through the back of Brindley, and he's seen a yellow card as a result. Harrison, who scored so many goals, used to be at Wimbledon, Stevenage, Barnet. In fact, I think he would have been at Wimbledon under Neil Ardley all those years ago, and scored some goals here under Paul Cox for Barrow. Only got the one goal to his name so far this season. There are players higher in the pecking order for him now, the likes of Quigley obviously, and Angus as well, Oliver Dyson too. As there's going to be a free kick for Notts that McDonald will take. The ball is moving, I can see that way to my left, but McDonald knocks it clear into the Barrow half. 6 minutes remain here, plus some stoppage time. Notts County lead against 10-man Barrow by 2-0. We spoke before the game, Lee Curtis, about wonder why Neil Ardley said that Tuesday night was the best win of the season. I sort of thought, I think he's saying it because now is the time to try and get some confidence and some momentum, and I think he was hoping his players would hear that and the fans would hear that, and they'd go, well, let's have some confidence and let's go for it, because now is the time. It is now or never, really, and it feels like that has paid off for them today with a performance like this. It's full of confidence. Here's Crawford, here's Jim O'Brien, he's at the post. No, he's not. It's just gone wide of the post and it's hit the advertising hoarding instead. Getting excited.
What a move that was again, though. Callum Roberts picks up, comes back towards goal, spots a great pass for Tom Crawford, squares it to Jim O'Brien. I would have put my house on him hitting the target there. It was close but no cigar.
Yes, indeed. Tom Crawford lifts the ball high in the air. Wootton will try to get there, and a little bit of a late tackle, I think, in the middle of the park on Hardcastle. The referee is content to let things continue, though, and Hardcastle straight back up to his feet. Brough has it now on the Barrow left, the Notts right, near the halfway line, and with less than 5 minutes to go, they've got a throw-in. Brough will take it. 10-15 yards inside the Notts half. Looking for an option. Reminder, he doesn't have as many options as he would usually, given that they're down to 10 men. Michael Doyle nips it away. Through comes Hurd. Now O'Brien making a tackle as well. Given to Hardcastle.
Brilliant pressing.
Brilliant pressing from Michael Doyle. It sees Cal Roberts away. Down the left-hand side. He shoots and he's dragged it wide. Really, really good opportunity for Notts to put this one to absolute bed and tuck the duvet in underneath. Michael Doyle, excellent in his pressing.
I mean, he's been inspirational this season. I mean, at 38, to keep going like he does, great pressing, set Roberts away with an excellent pass. I thought it was going in fairness, but just a touch too wide.
And Kyle Wootton now has it, and Brough comes over and kicks the ball out from underneath him, and Notts have got another free kick on this right-hand side with less than 4 minutes remaining now.
You can see Barrow a little bit rattled though, can't you?
Yeah, they're not used to it.
No, not used to it.
There's a little bit of kicking, a little bit of niggliness out there and things like that, because they're not used to losing. I like seeing a team like that, though, in fairness. I mean, it's a sign of a good team that they take it personally. Here's Richard Brindley, touch into the penalty area, is just a little bit too far in front of him, and that's going to present it back to Barrow. Rooney knocks it away down the left-hand side, but a poor ball from him. It's with Tom Crawford down the right wing. Rooney flies in. Crawford saw it coming, and it's going to be a throw-in to Notts on the right-hand side. Rooney continues to bark out instructions. I really liked him today, and but that being said, even he's gone off the boil in the second half, just because Notts have been so good. But he's going to fight till the very end. There are shades of a sort of younger Michael Doyle in the way that he approaches the game, that mentality. Different types of player, obviously, because I don't think Doyle ever scored 19 goals in a season. But in fact, I was going to say in a career, but I won't say that, because you know, he might hear and he might get mad. But anyway, Here come Barrow, out of defence with Hurd, poor ball across the line, and they just about managed to keep it in on the Barrow left, the Notts right, and Rooney manages to smuggle it back to one of his defenders and into the midfield. It goes once more to White, and now across to Hurd, and out on the right hand side to Connor Brown. Used to be at Carlisle and Oldham. Less than 2.5 minutes remaining here now at Barrow this afternoon. Notts lead by 2-0. Richard Brindley nicks it away from Brough, and he's off to the races down the right hand side. Cal Roberts with some space just inside of him. Brindley's going to choose to go himself, and Jones will put it behind for a corner kick. I think in the end probably the right decision made.
I was a little bit frustrated there because I thought Callum Roberts had opened his body up, was expecting the pass, but Brindley opted to go it alone. I don't mind that as long as you get something. Fortunately, Notts have got a corner.
Just wastes a little bit more time, takes some extra seconds off the clock. I guess the feeling is you maybe don't need to waste time, because it feels like every time Notts go forward at the moment, they might score.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Less than 2 minutes remain, and it's going to be a corner kick away to our right hand side. I'd love to tell you who's taking it, but there's a big steel pillar in the way. It was Roberts, short to O'Brien, ball into the penalty area, bounces across the 18-yard box, just in behind the likes of Wootton and Crawford up there as well, and it is him on the ball now on the edge of the penalty area. Tackle made from behind, he keeps hold of it, tries to double drag back away from Hurd. Hurd's on the ball now, but also on the floor on his back, pokes it away with his right foot, and Hardcastle screams at the referee. He's unhappy about something. Richard Brindley controls it, gives it back towards Joe McDonnell, and he'll clear it away long as Oliver Dyson was starting to put a bit of pressure on it. 89 minutes on the clock. As things stand, Lee Curtis,
yep,
who's your man of the match?
I think there's been some really impressive performances. Jim O'Brien's been very, very good today. Tom Crawford's been very, very good. But I think, when you come into Barrow, a free scoring team, I think it's all about your defensive resilience. And I think Alex Lacey has been very, very good. But I've got to say, Conor Rawlinson's been absolutely superb again today.
Conor Rawlinson, for you at this stage, and there's only 10 games left after this in the league, would he be your player of the season? And if not, who would?
It's amazing, isn't it? Because you look at Carl Wootton, who's had a fantastic season, but the form that Connell's shown just after sort of November, Christmas, and then the form he's shown since then has been absolutely incredible. I mean, he's such a leader, he puts his head on everything, kicks anything that moves, shows good awareness, and that partnership that he's formed with Alex Lacey as well has been one of the reasons why Notts have been allowed to get into the playoffs. So for me, I think it's probably Conor Rawlinson. I think Carl Wootton will push him close. I think he's been terrific. But yeah, I think Rawlinson would get my shout. You?
Yeah, he's up there. That's why I ask. I think Rawlinson's probably as good a shout as absolutely anybody.
Or Doyle. I mean, Doyle, to be fair.
And Michael Doyle at times has been a real presence in there, but I think I'm not sure how popular that want to be with some fans with the 3 red cards and whatnot, as Jim O'Brien rolls it out on the far side for a throw. And I think Doyle's got a really good shout. He's clearly very important to this team, keeps them ticking, and I think he's one of those that gets an extra couple % out of all of his teammates that are around him during the game. But for me, I think Conor Rawlinson's got as good a shout as anybody. We're into 4 minutes of stoppage time here now at Barrow this afternoon, and we've played about 40 seconds of that as Harrison tries to turn Rawlinson. The goalkeeper read it. The ball was always going to get away from him, I think, and Joe McDonnell picks it up, claims it, and rolls it out to his right-hand side to Alex Lacey, who again I think we've seen today the impact that he can have, and Damien McCrory back there. They just look so much more assured defensively, do the Magpies. Yes, Barrow have huffed and puffed, and yes, they've had their chances. Dior Angus went very close in that first half as Lacey's under a bit of pressure here. He just takes a touch, puts his foot on the ball, waits for the Barrow players to move, and then shifts it out to the left-hand side, which was neat. Crossing the halfway line now is Adam Long, rolling it down the left-hand touchline, looking to find Jim O'Brien just a little bit behind him, and O'Brien turns and screams at him. You'd think Notts were losing 2-0. Turns and screams at him for not playing it a little bit longer and a little bit quicker and in behind, because Jim thought he was in there, but by the by, it's a throw-in instead. O'Brien lifts up into the air. Wootton's got it on the far side, trying to hold it up. Hurd's come across, and he is now in possession. Tries to sneak it away down the right-hand side, and Barrow will come away with it. They're near the edge of their penalty area still at the moment, but they will clear now through Jones out onto this near touchline and straight out for a throw-in. 2 minutes to go. Notts are on course here for a brilliant victory at top of the table, Barrow, where very few expected them to come and get anything today. and yet the game is pretty much done. The tie is all but sealed, and Notts County are looking at delivering Barrow their first home defeat in the league, that is, since early September. This is a team that have won back-to-back 7-0 games this season. This is a team that score goals for fun. Yes, 2-0 is impressive because you've scored 2 goals. It's also very impressive because they've kept a clean sheet so far. Alex Lacey rolls it across to Long. Only about a minute or so of the stoppage time remains now. Jim O'Brien can't get on the end of that one. This time he turns and apologises to Adam Long, saying that he should have got on the end of it. Instead, it's run out for a throw-in on the far side. Barrow's race is run. You can see that in the body language out there now. I know the game is over. If there was to be a goal now, you'd think it's probably just a consolation. Barrow, without a shadow of a doubt, will come again. They've built up a cushion at the top of the table over many, many months now. Been top since October, and that won't change today despite this victory. What will change is that Notts will move up to 6th in the table. Well, not move up, stay 6th in the table, but what they will do is create a bit of a cushion between themselves and the chasing pack. 2-point cushion to 7th place Solihull, 8th Woking and 9th Stockport, and then a 3-point cushion to Hartlepool in 10th. It might not sound like much, but do bear in mind that at the start of play today it was just 3 points separating Notts in 6th and Bromley in 12th. Looking ahead of themselves rather looking than over their shoulder, Notts are in 6th, as I say, on 57. Halifax are 5th on 58, they're losing today, and then Boreham Wood and Yeovil are on 60 points. They are both winning today, so it brings the fight for a home tie in the playoffs a little bit closer as the referee blows his full-time whistle and Notts County have their result of the season. Neil Ardley might have said that Tuesday at Fylde was as good as it gets. This is better. To come to Barrow this afternoon, who haven't lost here since early September, and to win by 2-0 is frankly magnificent by Neil Ardley's men.